In 50 years of rod and blank manufacturing, I'm the most proud of the ones that we have designed here at Edge. They are the perfect fishing tool. A lot of people say that their rods fish just like Edge rods, but they don't. And if you don't believe me, just fish one of them, you'll understand why our rods are so good and take so long to build. I've been making rods for 50 years, and all during that time, the handles were made out of cork. Well, cork was good, been the choice of materials for probably 100 years, but I always thought there was something better. The sensitivity of graphite is so much greater than cork. Cork is really an insulator. I don't want an insulator on my handle. I want to feel every single bite. So it took us a long time to design and build handles out of graphite. I must have tried 50 different ways to do it before we finally came up with the right one. Anyway, what we had to do is we had to build the equipment to be able to build the handles. But what it did is it gave us a handle that's considerably stronger than the cork handles, last longer, won't get dirty, and probably create 30 to 40% more sensitivity. In fishing rod blanks, the denser the blank is, the stronger the blank is. If it's not dense, it's got porosity in it, holes in it. As you start to compress that blank, the holes start to collapse and takes the structure with it when it breaks. Most fishing rod equipment rolls at about 30 to 35 pounds per square inch. My tables roll at 250 pounds per square inch. So I get a much denser blank. So it's the same thing with the handles. You know, there just wasn't any handles. So if there's no handles, you got to figure out the machinery to be able to build the handles to get them right. So with those, there's just no other handles or no other blanks on the market that will compare with ours, just because of the heritage and the time and the engineering that we've been in. You know, I've designed a lot more stuff and built a lot more stuff than fishing rods, which were very high tech. At one time when I got into graphite, there was only 4 composite engineers in the whole world. There's probably 400 of them now, and worked with all these technical military labs, building all these equipment and helping them with the problems that they have. I've seen a lot of companies since I've been in this that came in that were going to set the world on fire with some new process, and then all of a sudden just disappear because the process isn't a solid process like we have and we've developed over the years that we've been in this. Weight is a deterrent to performance, and in this there's only so many things that you can do to reduce the weight to increase the performance of the rod. A fishing rod has got to cast a line or a lure correctly, hook a fish correctly, fight a fish correctly, land a fish correctly, and come home in the same amount of pieces that it left in. If it doesn't do this, it's not a good rod. So to be able to get this weight down in the rod and the performance up, you really need to look at the correct process of building a blank. The denser the blank, the stronger the blank is for the weight. So what you've got to look at is also these new materials that are coming along. Usually have a new material about every 8 to 10 years that has got a higher modulus and a higher strain rate, that we can reduce the amount of material that we need to get that stiffness and strength factor. And so we keep a close eye on that. When you fish about 3 miles of the river every single night, you see the river change, the water clearing, raising, lowering, more fish, less fish. And you start to figure out that you've got to listen to those fish and exactly what they want. I found out real quickly when I went from 12-pound test to 10 to 8 to 6 to 4, that what was breaking these fish off was the shock. You turn around and take a line, 8-pound test, 10-pound test line, hold it out in front, you can't break it. But if you do that, you break it easy. It's the shock. So you've got to build rods that take that shock out. Doesn't matter what pound test and what strengths of the rod do you have, but you've got to take that out so that you can catch bigger fish on a lighter line or bigger fish on the line you usually use. It increases the catchability of the fish. There's a lot of fishing rod companies out there that say their rods fish just as good as our rods do. I'm really happy that they're using our rods as the Mona Lisa of rods. In fact, over the years, I have built blanks for 28 other rod companies that put their name on them. And so a lot of our rods have been copied by other manufacturers, and I take it as a good thing. I'd rather have them say that ours is the best, and that's who they copied. We just don't build them anyway. We build them the way that we've always built them. And most of all of the componentry and stuff, as you can see in front of us, we've designed and built ourselves because we just couldn't get what we really needed to make a better rod. So in some cases, it just takes a little bit longer to design and build these different componentries that make up the rod that we have. So I think that you'll be happy with our products. May take a little bit longer to get them, but they'll be built right, and they'll be the very best in the world.